Okay, so what we are going to talk in this video is about discontinuous conduction mode, right? So this is the first video which talks about the in this course on discontinuous conduction mode. So we would start with talking about discontinuous conduction mode, what it is in context to DC to DC buck converters. So let's So if you see in our last video, which was actually video number 7.1, right, which was switch realization, we saw that a buck converter, if you want to realize the switches using MOSFETs, diodes, and so on, is a MOSFET M1 and a diode D2, inductor, capacitor, load resistance, right? This was the DC to DC buck converter which we have seen. Now here you let me just mark this is load resistance. And how does this circuit operate? So first M1 is on, right? If M1 is on, in that case the equivalent circuit would be something like this. This is V in, this is plus minus IL VL. So you can see that the inductor current would rise. Sorry, it would start with some initial value IL0 and it would rise, right? And when M1 is off, now M1 is open, so current cannot flow through D1, right? Because D1 is off, connected another way around. So the only path for the inductor current to flow through is D2, right? So since current cannot be interrupted instantaneously, so this D2 would get forward bias, right? And current would flow through this D2 to the output capacitor, right? Now this point is sometimes a little bit different, because usually we say a diode becomes forward bias or reverse bias depending on the voltage that we apply across its terminal. So if it's forward bias, it's positive voltage; reverse bias, it's negative voltage. Or sometimes we say that the anode potential should be higher than the cathode potential for a diode to be forward bias, right? And greater than a certain value, which is roughly, let's say, 0.6, 0.7 or so. But here we are saying it in a little bit different way. We are saying because current is not finding a path, therefore this diode has to turn on. It is actually, both the things are very similar. For example, let's say if I would prove it by contradiction, let's say if D2 does not turn on, right? Hypothetically, then what will happen? This would be open, right? Let me refer this as VD2. This would be inductor, and this would be the output voltage V. So you can write KVL and you can say that VD2, voltage across diode D2, is going to be equal to minus of VO minus of VL. And which is, what is VL? VL is given by L DIL by dt. Right? Now, because there is no path for the inductor current to flow, current would go from a finite value to zero very quickly. That means this term di by dt is going to be negative, and it's going to be large value, right? Large magnitude, and the polarity would be negative. Now, if you feed this thing here, you realize that this full term, because there's negative, another negative, this full thing would be positive value, and it would be a large value. and therefore this second term minus V naught would be relatively small, and overall VD2 will also be a positive and a very large value, and which would then turn on the diode. Why? Because anode potential is higher than the cathode potential. So you can look it in either way, or you can have an understanding in either way. Both of them, I mean, whichever way you are more comfortable in justifying this operation, right? So yeah, so once the diode turns on, the equivalent circuit is like an inductor, output voltage and diode, and we understand the current would fall with the slope of minus VO by L, or the slope of VO by L, and it'll again come back to the same position, right? So this was our normal buck converter operation. Right? You can see the inductor current waveform is the same as it would be in case of a ideal switch realization, ideal switch kind of circuit. All right, now what happens? So now this circuit is operating. Let's say slowly I have started increasing the value of RL. Slowly I've started increasing the value of RL. Let me just take a copy of the circuit below so that I can right. So this is the circuit, and this is how the inductor current was, right? Now I've slowly started increasing the load resistance. So I've started increasing the load resistance. What will happen as I increase the load resistance? The average load current will reduce, right? Why? Because average load current is given by average output voltage divided by the load resistance. If load resistance increases, the average load current would reduce. Okay, as average load current would reduce, since average load current is equal to the average inductor current, therefore the average inductor current would also reduce. What does it mean? If you see on the right hand side figure, then your characteristics would shift below. Look the same. Why? Because slopes are same, duty cycle is same, frequency is same, but the average value has come down. Further, if you increase RL value, further the average load current would reduce, further the average inductor current would reduce. So it will further come down. And then let's say it finally comes down, let me just draw it, it finally comes down to this scenario, where it starts from 0, it ends at 0, has to be because it's operating a steady state. So it is just touching 0 in both starting and ending point, right? Let's say by increasing RL slowly, we have brought down the inductor current to this particular shape. This particular condition where IL RT equal to 0 is equal to, obviously IL RT equal to TS is equal to 0. This condition is called as critical conduction mode, right? This is called as critical conduction mode. When IL RT equal to 0, which would at steady state, which would be equal to IL at equal to TS. If this instant is greater than 0, then we call it as continuous conduction mode, right? Which is what we were studying till now. Now, so we have understood that as we increase the load resistance, right? So sometimes we would call it as reducing load. So when we say reducing load, that does not mean reducing RL. That implies increasing the value of RL. So generally reducing load means reducing load current, right? So we would use this terminology, reducing load, which would imply you are reducing load current. How would you do that? By increasing RL. It's a little bit confusing sometimes, but make sure that you use these. I mean, you understand this way of defining increase or reduction in load. So we move on, and at one point we test the critical conduction mode. Now what happens? You are at critical conduction mode. Let's say now you further increase RL, right? So let's say we further increase RL even after reaching the critical conduction mode. What will happen? Let me try to draw it below. So now you have further increased RL. So what happens is your load resistance has increased, right? Let's say the inductor current does not change suddenly, right? So the inductor current does not change suddenly. So you have increased RL further, right? Let's say inductor current average uh, does not change suddenly. Then what happens? Your output voltage, which is given by the load resistance multiplied by the average load current, is also equal to the load resistance multiplied by the average inductor current, would rise up. Why? Because load resistance has increased, current is the same, so average output voltage will go up. Because average output voltage will go up, then so this is step 1, this is step 2. In step 3, what will happen is your increasing slope, right? What is the increasing slope? V in minus VO is equal to L delta IL by L di by dt, right? This is the increasing slope. This is the slope when M1 is on, right? So you see what will happen to slope? V in minus VO. Now VO has increased slightly. So the gap between V in and VO has become smaller. So the slope has reduced, right? So less rising slope. Now what happens during such when switch is off? When switch is off, the equation is minus VO is equal to L di L by dt. Here, if you see, it's with a negative sign and the magnitude of VO increases, and therefore, while falling, it will fall faster and therefore more falling slope, right? So output voltage increases momentarily, which would reduce the rising slope and which would make the falling slope more. What happens? Let's draw it in the diagram. So you have inductor current here. Let's say starts from 0. Now, if this was the natural path, the rising would happen like this, a little bit less. If the falling would also happen a little bit more steep. So it comes to 0 even before the end point. Right? Why? Because the falling has happened slowly, and sorry, the falling is more steep and the rise is slow. Now what happens at this point? Say at point alpha. What happens at point alpha? If you see the equivalent circuit is the equivalent circuit, let me draw it here. So what happens at alpha? Just at alpha minus, what is the condition? This is the diode, inductor, output capacitor, load resistance, right? And the current is flowing in this direction. Now current has become 0. So therefore, now current would try to reverse its direction. Why? Because there is a forcing voltage here. So current would try to come back, but this diode will not allow current to come back, right? And therefore, current would never be able to come back and current would remain at 0. So the inductor current after instant alpha would remain at 0. Right? This is the image, this is the scenario, what we call it as discontinuous conduction mode, right? This is what we call it as discontinuous. So now if you see, since this has happened, your average current has further come down. If you compare average current of critical conduction mode versus average current of discontinuous conduction mode, you see there is a reduction, which is what was supposed to happen eventually, right? So as a last step, average current also reduces. Right? So what happens in discontinuous conduction mode? Current would rise, it will fall, it will come back to zero before the end of time period, and then it will remain zero, and then again in next cycle again it will start, and so on. Right? It will continue, it will repeat itself. So let me write here IL at t equal to 0 is equal to IL at t equal to Ts minus delta t is equal to 0. This is called as conduction. One thing you can very quickly say that because the falling slope is less, the rising slope is less, we understand that the output voltage is going to be a little bit more than what it was in the continuous conduction mode. So VO in DCM is going to be greater than VO in continuous conduction mode. So continuous conduction mode we use CCM, and discontinuous conduction mode we can use the acronym DCM. Critical conduction mode we generally do not use any acronym for that because it might confuse with CCM. Right? So you see that in the average voltage in discontinuous conduction mode would always be more than the average voltage you would have got in continuous conduction mode, keeping everything else same except changing the load resistance. So everything else, duty cycle, TS, whatever, right? Everything else is the same, and the only thing that changes is RL in this transition. Right. So as you change the load resistance, as you increase the load resistance, as you move from continuous to discontinuous mode, once as long as you are in the continuous mode, your output voltage is constant in an ideal scenario and given by D times P in, right? As soon as you move in discontinuous conduction mode, your output voltage becomes more than what it was in continuous conduction mode, and it is no longer equal to D times V, right? So that is the reason that till now, whenever I spoke about that formula, I specifically mentioned that that formula is only applicable for continuous conduction mode. In discontinuous conduction mode, your output voltage is going to be more than what that formula would tell you, right? Even though still our circuit is ideal, still we are not considering any non-idealities in diode or in switch or inductor resistance. We are not considering those things, right? Still our circuit is ideal. So CCM versus DCM can happen in ideal as well as actual converter, right? It has nothing to do with ideal or non-ideal converter. So try to decouple these two things. There's something called as ideal versus non-ideal, and there's something called as DCM versus CCM, right? Both these things are different. They are not same. Okay, now how would I know if my circuit is operating in CCM or it is operating in DCM, right? How can I find out if it is operating in CCM versus DCM, right? How to determine whether my circuit is in DCM or CCM? So if you see the waveform inductor current, this was the inductor current waveform for the critical conduction mode. So what we'll do is for this critical conduction mode, we will try to find out what is load resistance at this critical conduction mode, right? And then we would know that, okay, if your load resistance value is more than the critical value, then it is in DCM. If your load resistance is less than critical, that means it's in CCM. And understand, if I further decrease the RL value or increase the load, then it will go up. It will be in CCM. If I go other way around, then it will come in DCM, right? So finding the value of load resistance for this critical mode gives us the RL critical. So let's find it out. Let me just redraw the load inductor current once again. Right? What is the average value of the inductor current? IL It is given by half into base into height. How much is height? Height is, this thing is, we understand, this is delta IL by Ts, which is equal to delta IL by, right? This is the average inductor current. What about the load current? Average load current is VO by R load, or just let's say capital R, right? So we understand that these two currents, average current has to be equal at operating at steady state. Therefore, IL is equal to I load in case of buck converter. Therefore, we can write delta IL by 2 is R. I can substitute what is delta IL. What is delta IL? V in, if you consider only the on period, right? V in minus VO is equal to L delta IL by D times TS. So I can substitute the value of delta L from here to here. What I would get is V in minus VO into DTS upon 2L to VO by R, right? I can I can substitute, because you see you are still operating in the boundary of CCM DCM, so the output voltage relationship is still applicable till now. Once you go out of this continuous mode, it will no longer be valid, but still till now your VO is equal to D times V in is valid. So you can substitute it here, you can do rearrange this particular equation, and you would get the value of R critical as 2 times L upon Ts into 1 minus D. Right? This is the expression you would get by rearranging the above equation. What does it say? That if your RL is greater than R critical, that implies you are operating in PCM, and if your RL is less than R critical, then you are operating in CCM. And you can say equal also, because critical conduction mode is actually very similar to continuous conduction mode, right? It's like the boundary point of the continuous conduction mode. Right? Other thing which you can observe from this value of R critical is that you can certainly, so now if you see one more thing which needs to be understood here is that R critical depends on LTS and duty cycle. What does it mean? That you can sort of rearrange this formula and you can say L critical is equal to R load into Ts into 1 minus D by 2. What does it mean? That okay, if you have load resistance fixed, Ts fixed, duty cycle fixed, then if you use an inductor of a value larger than R critical, then you will be operating in CCM. So if your L is greater than L critical, then you will be in CCM, and if your L is less than L critical, then you will be in DCM, right? Similarly, you can do it for frequency. Similarly, you can do it for duty cycle. So with other parameters same, you can manipulate load resistance, inductance value, switching frequency, which is 1 upon Ts, and duty cycle. And by varying this, you would either land up in CCM or you would be operating CCM. But this equation 1 can help you decide at that instant whether you are in CCM or DCM, right? Yeah, in general, when you design a converter, then you fix the value of inductor, right? You don't usually change it. You fix the value of switching frequency. You don't generally change it. Duty cycle does change, but does not change over a wide range if your input source is sort of well behaved or an close to ideal source. So in usual circumstances, R is the one which actually changes. So when you are heavily loaded, or when you are loaded by a significant amount, right? When you are operating at a high load condition, that implies that your RL value is small, right? then usually you would be operating in CCM. And when you are lightly loaded, right, that means your load current is small, that means your load resistance is large, then you would be operating in DCM, right? So this is generally the uh, uh, operation, how a converter would behave. But while designing it, you can manipulate L, Fs, and D, and you can decide that what should be the critical resistance value for that converter. So once we have done that, now we have established that the buck converter can operate in CCM, can operate in DCM. In CCM, we have already figured out the average output voltage, ripple current, and ripple voltage, and so on. So what we'll do now is we would talk about, as a next step, we would talk about what happens. We understand that the average voltage is going to go up, right? We have established that the average voltage is going to be more than what it was in CCM, but how much more? So we would try to find the value of output voltage in discontinuous conduction mode in the next video.